Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the True Path Entrepreneur, your guide to living your purpose and growing a business you love with freedom and fun from anywhere on earth. I'm your host, Beth Weinstein. I'm a transformational business coach helping current and aspiring entrepreneurs align with their true purpose and grow their business so that you can help more people profit with your passion and have a thriving business you love working on your own terms. And today's interview, we get to hear from my good friend, Kate Crow. Hey, Kate, how are you?
I'm great. So happy to be here. Thank you, Beth.
Thanks for joining in. And so Kate has been a life coach for more than a decade, and she's a former Handel Group Senior Coach and workshop leader. Kate Crow has coached hundreds of individuals worldwide and designed and led life-transforming workshops throughout the U.S., including events at the Esalen Institute and Kripalu Center. Kate has guided people through personal transitions for over 20 years. A former Handel Group Senior Coach, Pilates instructor, and counselor for domestic violence support groups, Kate has helped people from all walks of life change their bodies, minds, and beliefs using focus, discipline, accountability, and mindfulness. Kate's firm handholding, compassion, and experience enables her clients to discover and illuminate the themes and patterns in their lives so they can profoundly change their lives in concrete, manageable, lasting ways. And Kate, I'm so happy to have you here. And the one question I've been asking everybody in this series, the True Path Entrepreneur, how did you get started on your own true path? Like, how did you become a life coach, especially back before life coaches were like the big thing like they are now?
Well, I think I sort of stumbled into it because I was in the midst of what I have come to term a personal tsunami. I was going through a divorce, and a very, very old friend of mine sort of introduced me to this woman who became my first coach. And within a very short amount of time, I would say like less than a month and a half, I just felt so much better. I needed to get a job. I needed to buy a computer and learn how to turn it on. Like, it was like some very, very basic things that I needed to do. But what she helped me to sort of align with was, what I wanted to do. So the change within my life, working with her, really sped up with velocity, and it was super clear. I remember like on my third or fourth session with her sort of saying, I think I've been wanting to do this. There was a spiritual context to it that I had been missing. So that was really great. So that was it. It was really out of a breakdown that I then had this breakthrough, and began studying with the Handel Group for about 7 years and worked with them and got trained, and that's what put me on the path. So it was really out of dissatisfaction and unhappiness with my life.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people watching this are probably also unhappy with their life, whether it's they're in a job that's not fulfilling them, or they've started a business and it's not growing the way they wanted to, or they just feel like they're completely misaligned in some form, especially with our life's work, because, it's such a huge part of our life. It's, how we make money, how we survive, and most people I know have to do some sort of work. But how would you suggest people really start to tap into their true path and their purpose, and really get a sense of like what's next for them, or even if they've started a business, like, and maybe it's not the right business for them, like how can they tap into this?
So, I believe all humans, what really makes us feel happy is that when we feel purposeful, or we have a sense of meaning in our lives, right? So that we feel connected. That can come through relationship, that can come through work. When I work with people, one of the things that I think helps to define or clarify what it is their purpose is to look at the themes of your life. What actually keeps repeating? From my perspective, those would be indications or signs of the universe about why you're actually here. What are you here to heal in yourself? What are you here to understand in yourself? So one of the themes that I could identify with the different chapters, and in the different tsunamis that occurred was this feeling of sort of feeling like a victim, and feeling like life was happening to me versus for me. That when I understood that, that was that line, it really transformed my whole experience of life. But so for me, it was looking at like, wow, okay, I feel like a victim. I feel like a victim. Oh, interesting. I'm acting like a victim. So a lot of my work is, when I look at the real vision or mission I have for myself, it's like to sort of end victim consciousness. And how do I do that? What I am is an empowerment coach. I help people shift their perspectives. My method that I teach is called Shift It. So it's really, in my clients that work with me, what their feedback is that, wow, I feel like I experience life differently now. So one could say that I teach resilience. I look at the different the different tsunamis or the different heartaches that I've had, and I started to see like, okay, so here's the theme for me. I can see my pattern. I can see this theme, and it then became we're sort of writing that down, so that it became my North Star when I feel like I'm sort of needing to up level. It doesn't mean that I can't. That it's usually a different version of how do I deal with people's sense of victim? How do I help empower them to see their life differently and to trust themselves to make the decisions that they need to do that are in alignment with themselves, with their feelings. So I think that's, for people, listening to us, this interview, it's really about looking at the circumstances or the hard points in your life where I see that as the universe really giving you a tap to say, okay, what's your part of this? What is this here to teach you? What is the gift? A phrase I use a lot in my coaching comes from Carl Jung, and he says, look for the gold in the dark. What is it what's the wisdom that you can bring into your foundation, and then change your behavior or your mindset?
Wow. It's beautiful. I love it. I was just talking about coming out of the dark and into the light, and it's been a deep journey. And of course it's always constant. There's always the ups and downs and ebbs and flows, especially in entrepreneurship, because it's beautiful. It's wonderful. It's the most fulfilling thing ever, but it's not always easy. Now, you talk about the Shift It method, and you talk about, it sounds like a major, perspective change. But what I find, some clients come to me and they're really just so stuck, and, they don't even understand what you're talking about.
The practicality.
Yeah. Like one little thing, like, is there any, like the initial step that someone who's super stuck could start on now?
Yeah. I mean, I definitely believe all humans know deep down what it is that will make them happy. Gandhi says, happiness is when what we think, what we say, and what we do are in harmony. So the first step is always to do some excavation work. I find the best way to do that is through writing. So with my clients, we break life up into its different compartments, right? There's, what would your ideal relationship to work or career be? What is your ideal relationship to money? What is your ideal relationship to romantic love, home? We break it down. So in work, it would be, what would that ideal relationship be? Write it out, write it in the present tense, write it in the affirmative, like, so such that it's already happened, like that. So you are it. And using feeling words so that you actually know what it is that you are, So the first line of mine is, I'm a transformer. Because I do transform, and I help people choose love over fear. that's how we get them, that's one of the things, their fears are holding them down. So part of it is just helping people to actually write. So the first step always when I'm coaching with somebody is like, okay, and we could spend we could spend a couple sessions going over it, but usually people know what it is that will make them happy. They know and you can look at your complaints. This goes back to what isn't working in your life, or what are those central themes that keep coming up when you complain about your life. What is it that you're complaining about? What are the what are the themes? I don't know how else to say it, but it's usually there, and then it's turning that around so that from that vision statement we begin to take committed actions to fulfill it. So if a person is stuck and they are realizing, I'd say, okay, what's keeping you stuck right now? Fear of failure. I feel like I don't know. Okay, well then let's figure out what has brought you joy before? Where do you feel the ease of life? What are some of the complaints, or what are the things that are scaring you? And we flip that into starting to take some actions. You and I have talked about like helping people create their niche. This is what that is really. It's articulating what it is that you keep being, a theme that keeps happening again and again is something that you are here to work out. It keeps repeating itself. It wears different masks, but it's here because it's trying to get your attention. And that is where, when you start to operate from that space, you're going to be happier because you're working through it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. It's like, a lot of people say, and I agree in some way, I tend not to use the word so much, but the entrepreneurial journey, or even the journey into coming into your life's work or your life's purpose, it's a healing journey. It comes up to be addressed, to be healed, to be dealt with. And, I actually wanted to ask that next is like, how do you feel, because there's some people out there that might think, oh, who cares about life purpose? I just want to make a lot of money and pay the bills and buy things on Amazon or whatever. How do you feel about, one having a purpose in life? Like, can one be happy and fulfilled and not feel like they have a purpose? Or like, what is the whole point of really following this deeper desire in our hearts?
Yeah, I do. I don't think all people, and I don't think there's any judgment about that. Look at, working to get money so that you can have a car or you can have some material ease is a good enough reason. We haven't talked about the why, which is what oftentimes it's a sort of you hear it passed around all the time, attached to your why. Because when you do, it will keep you on task for, one of the things that oftentimes comes up with entrepreneurship is like, stumbling blocks. Do you want it? How much do you want it? And knowing why, having a deeper meeting. And it can be, because I want my new car. Okay, great. If that's what's going to keep you in the game for, putting yourself out in the world and doing your marketing and staying in a proactive space, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think I had a client once and she was like, I don't know what my purpose is. And her purpose was to love. It was simple. It wasn't complicated. It was like the thing that had the most meaning for her were her children. And she wanted to be in relationship. And it was like, just be great with your family and friends. Just be that loving, energetic, that force. That's good enough. I don't think the purpose has to be, the next thing, make you the next Amazon person, head of Amazon. I think it can be more humble than that. So
Yeah.
but I do think comes down to, with this woman, lots of breakdown around her family. So it was like, you know what? Let's look at what gives you joy. Let's stay simple in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Follow the joy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I know you deal with the people in all walks of life and all levels of, working for others or working for themselves. And I'm just curious, along your journey, and you've been doing this so long, what do you find is the number one issue that people struggle with the most? And, how can they overcome it? Like, to me, I always say it's just generally fear, because there's every form, it seems, every problem seems to come back to a deeper level of fear or inner, whatever, it's a lack of self-trust or deep undeserving or unworthiness. But what do you think is like the biggest issue out there?
Well, 100% fear, but I think it takes on, different, it looks different. And there's a great book by Stephen Pressfield, The War of Art, and it talks about resistance. But I think that's another word for fear, but it's those things that we think are the stumbling blocks, instead of realizing that the process of turning those blocks into stepping stones, which is such a cliche, but it's actually true, is that when we become exquisite problem solvers, and how else for me, it's really about, how can I learn from this? What is this here to teach me? Why am I, if I'm feeling blocked, if I don't know the answer, who is out there who could maybe help me answer that question? Or, so I think with entrepreneurship, it's never going to be a point A to point B journey. Life doesn't work like that, right? It goes this way, this way, this way. You can have like a really great run, feel like everything's going super well, and then all of a sudden clients might shift, and then you think, oh my God, like what's happening? And instead of like attaching to the fear, but letting it, accepting that it's there. So to answer your question, I think the thing is fear, but I think it's going to look like tests. It's going to look like confusion. It's going to look like doubts. And so being able to recognize that is, I think, and to become that exquisite problem solver, and not getting discouraged, and really, it's, again, working back, this whole interview is really working back to the why, which is, okay, I'm doing this because, and like we said, it could be material, or I'm doing this because it's material and I really want to end victim consciousness.
Yeah.
I'm here as a bigger piece to really want to make a difference in that. So I think whatever it is that you can find meaning in, which is one of the real building blocks to joy and happiness, that's really what it comes down to. I find, for the tip for our listeners, is really write on this. Think about, take yourself to a coffee shop or in nature and really write out, what is it that makes you happy? Don't edit it, just blurt it out, and then go back and look at it again, and that's it's in there. It just has to get brought to the surface.
Yeah. I'm curious, it's funny, I prescribe writing to all my clients too. And, I pretty much openly admit to them, I usually tend to have a problem with it. I go through phases where I go on a streak where I'm like doing the daily writing, and then I stop for a while. But I'm curious, do you know, why does this work, and why does it help? I mean, I know it works, I know it helps, and I've tested it. And especially when it comes to, we can call it manifesting, or we can call it just, visioning, or, bringing ourselves into a higher state of being. But like, how do you know, like, why does it work? And do your clients all do it, or do people shrug it off? And
I think they shrug it off, but I think that it's what it does. I'm sorry, that's my dog. Hold on, let me just shut the door.
Cute dog. Hey. We should bring him on camera.
Yeah, right. She was sitting there. Yeah. The subconscious talks to us when we write. So it's, if, for instance, in the middle of the night, even if it's just a little bit, but I think it's that the resistance we have to it is like being able to sit with our feelings.
Mm.
And, I think that's actually, it's, I felt that this morning actually, because I'm writing on something, and I noticed, like, as I'm writing, I'm fighting myself and wanting to get up and go get a cup of tea. I'm fighting myself to go and get something to eat. Oh, there's laundry to put in. It's like, sit with your feelings. It's the same stuff that happens when we meditate. Why? We all know how much better we feel when we meditate, but we don't do it because we have to sit with ourselves and be with ourselves. So I think that that to me is, yes, it's, we all know what we need to eat, and what will make us feel better. Exercise is one of those things, but how often do you want to push that off instead of like sitting with it and saying, no, I'm going to do it. So, another tip for our the listeners is to, we get it. But getting clear about your vision and looking at it as your North Star or your map is really, really important. And like I said, looking and going back and looking at the things that, that experience wasn't so great. Oh, in my life, like these tsunamis that I've talked about, I got divorced. I had 2 boyfriends die of cancer. I have a son with a mental illness. These are big things that really tapped me and could have, and did at different points of them, send me to bed, like, I don't want to deal with the world. But I also really understood that they were things that were triggers for feeling victimized and powerless. And so for me, helping people to feel focused and powerful when they don't feel they have it, that sort of sums up what I like to do with people. I shift them in that, and that's resilience, right? So, but it's really takes being able to be with ourselves and to not let our feelings let them inform you. They're not always, jealousy is a great example. It's not always dead on, but it's tapping you to help you to see there's something you want and something that's missing. And can you do the deeper work to find out what that actually, what you're going to do about that?
Wow. This is so beautiful and so truthful, because it's true. Like the resistance of just sitting with the discomfort. And I agree, probably like you, a lot of clients that deal with procrastination or putting things off, or not taking that next step, when it comes to business, putting themselves out there in a public way. Like even with me, and I know you've seen this with me, like posting on Facebook or doing a video or even doing this series, it's such a push and pull with my own inner resistance. And I've learned, it's always a stretch. And I've learned to, because I've proven so many times over and over that there's always magic on the other side. So I've learned to just like, okay, I'll face this resistance and the fear and step towards it and just keep going. And because I just know there's so much, juice and magic and love and amazingness on the other side, but inner struggle.
Well, the familiar zone is not necessarily comfortable, right? But we know it. And there's a place, and on a very reptilian level, we as humans want to stay in what we know, even if it's not working for us. So I think your point of like, oh, the magic is on the other side. It's right. It's like, think about it. You work out, and then how many times do you regret working out? How many times, if you're climbing a mountain, do you regret getting to the top? Like it's how many times you may have a difficult conversation with somebody and you may need to have a second one, but usually there's some sort of on the other side is what we're looking for. So I think we live in a culture that we'd love to take the pill and have it be better. And it doesn't work always like that, especially in business. It's like, if you want the freedom, I've been thinking about it. I've been an entrepreneur for so long that it's something that could I work for another person? Oh yeah, 100%. But I and I work a lot, but I like it.
Yeah.
Like, it's not, I don't always feel like that. And you told me once, like, oh, guess what? I took yesterday off and I went climbing because it was a beautiful day. And I was like, yes, but
Yeah.
I know you were probably working on a Saturday or a Sunday after
When it
that.
rains. Yeah.
Like, and that's the part of, I would love for our listeners to take away, like, don't get discouraged. Just you align with that inner place of what lights you up and turns you on. And if you need help getting there, that's where having a coach is helpful. But I 100% believe that people know what's in there. And, what that client I just told you about who was resisting, that she was really an agent for love and beauty, but she kept blocking herself. And it was okay, but it's right there.
Wow. And it's so simple, right? It just takes some work, some support, especially, if people are just too busy with their lives and their minds and running around and just stuck. This is where you need this kind of support. So
interrupt it.
Yeah, totally. And I'm curious, in your free gift that's in today's email, everybody can click the link. Can you tell us a little bit more? Is this what you do in your envisioning?
Yeah, that's what this envisioning. So it's really about an envisioning session of where we go to uncover, to sort of begin that process of mining for the gold that is underneath these different experiences, and helping people to see that, they know what will make them happy. But it is about getting clear so that then, going back to, we get your thoughts are in there, what you want, saying it out loud, and then doing it. And that's that's the magic formula right there. People who are suffering are usually thinking something, but not saying it, saying something and not doing it. So we're always trying to get that into alignment. So the free gift is really about helping people to, get into alignment and identify what it is that they probably want to do.
Awesome. Now, Kate, tell people where they can find you, a little bit more about what you offer, anything going on.
Yeah. Well, you can find me through my website, which is www.katecrow.com. And I have some openings for privates between now and Christmas, and I'll be launching another group. The groups that I run, there are two of them. One's called Close the Gap, and the other is Power Up and Shift It. It's really about the Power Up and Shift It is about, feeling your power within, powering it up, and moving your life. So, but private coaching is also really open, and that's a beautiful deep dive with people. And I love that work.
Yeah. So. Awesome. This has been so beautiful talking to you. Thank you so much. And everybody can click the email for her free gift, the envisioning session. Don't miss out, because Kate is awesome. Kate, thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, my darling. It's so great to see you. And thank you for doing your beautiful work. This is great.
Thank you. And everybody, be sure to join us tomorrow on The True Path Entrepreneur with more interviews, and we'll see you then. Bye.